Hi everyone, my name is Ava. I am one of the current graduate assistants through professional school advising at the Career Center here at A&M. And today I wanted to talk about activities for medical school, what you should be focusing on doing in your time, building your application, and overall building your narrative as to why medicine. So first, you're going to have to categorize your activities. This is all going to be up to you at the end of the day. So what I would start doing now is look at this big list here. You have academic recognition, which can be like scholarships, dean's list, things like that. Non-academic recognition, which can be a multitude of things. Imagine just any kind of recognition outside of academics. Then there's leadership, which can be a literal officer position, or it can be attending a leadership conference or being in a kind of supervisor role at work, something like that. A lot of things can count for leadership. Employment, this is pretty much asking any employment outside of healthcare or a clinical setting, which I'll touch on more. Research activities, so that can include working in a lab, presenting, publishing, all of that would be included there. And then healthcare activities, which is kind of an umbrella term that covers shadowing, working, and volunteering in a clinical setting. All of that will be here. And then community engagement. This is essentially asking for any volunteering that is not in a clinical setting. And then extracurricular activities, which can be clubs you're in, organizations, hobbies, pretty much anything outside of the other categories here. If you're wanting more details on different examples of what could count for these activities and some of the rationale that TMD SAS is asking for, then visit the TMD SAS application guide. You can just Google that for more details. And also, if you weren't sure, then the TMD SAS, that stands for the Texas Medical and Dental School Application Service. So if you're applying to medical schools in Texas, this is a service you'll be using. The one for any other school out of state pretty much is called AMCAS. That one asks you for very similar activities. They might be worded a little bit differently, but it's asking you for the same things. The one difference here between TMD SAS and MCAS is that TMD SAS allows you an unlimited entry number for these activities, while AMCAS, you need to narrow things down a little bit more because they only allow you to put 15 entries for pretty much all these categories. So also consider that if you are planning on applying out of state. So, for what to focus on, because not all of those that I listed are technically required, but I would say the ones that are really, really important are healthcare activities, community engagement, leadership, and maybe research depending on the program. If you're wanting to go to a medical school that's very, very research heavy, then yes, research is very important. I will say a lot more pre-medical students are doing research, so I would really encourage you to get involved, even if you are not wanting to go to super research heavy school. But, what's more important than research at pretty much any school is definitely going to be like your clinical experiences and things like that. So have a good balance of these things. Add research in if you feel like these other three are strong. But yeah, just look into the programs to see what kind of things you should be doing as far as research goes. And overall, you want to focus on having impactful experiences. If you're just going to, let's say, the food bank to volunteer, you don't really care so much about like the organization itself, but you're just going because you want to check off that box of community engagement. Medical schools will be able to tell if you don't really have your heart in it, if you didn't find it very impactful, and you'll have to write about every single activity you enter. Even Dean's List, you will have a space to write. On TMT SAS, you have anywhere from 300 to 500 characters to write about your activities, and that's kind of based on the different categories. And they want you to use that whole space to explain the impact. So if you do an activity and you have nothing to say for it, then medical schools will be able to tell. So you want to focus on having impactful experiences where you're learning something, you're appreciating something, really just having thoughts on something, and you're able to get that point across to medical schools. So it's really important too to tie your experiences into your narrative, into your story of why medicine. So the goal of your experiences should be to show medical schools that you are actively working on building skills and qualities that will make you a kind and competent physician. Again, don't just do things because you want to check off the box. Do activities that are going to allow you to maybe even have an impact on others. Just because you're not a physician yet does not mean you cannot, for example, be in a clinical setting and have a really, really positive impact on somebody, on a patient, on their family, whoever that may be. And so those are, putting yourself in those situations is building skills that are going to help you be a better physician. So you want to be pursuing activities that are going to be really high value in that way. And you really want to reflect on what kind of impact you want to have on your community. And what I mean by that is, we all have different stories of where we're from or our family situation or, what we want to do as a career, even as a future physician, right? But you want to consider what kind of impact you want to have, what kind of things in the community do you see as problems do you want to solve? For example, do you have a really big passion for underserved, like medically underserved communities? Then go out in underserved communities and go help. If you just say that you care about a certain aspect of medicine or society and you do nothing to back up that claim, then it's kind of weak, right? So you want to early on reflect and decide what you think is important. And not everything that you do should be, all in clinical experiences. Like I said, that community engagement activity is very important too. But even in that, even if you care about animals a lot, then go volunteer at an animal shelter or something like that. Do things that are going to be true to your just narrative, your reason for why you want to be a physician, different things that, you really care about. Be true to that. Don't just, copy your friend and do whatever they're doing because you think it's going to work for you. I really encourage you to reflect a lot and use your time very wisely to get those impactful experiences. A lot of people are just thinking about the quantity of hours they need, which, yes, different medical schools, you can talk to their admissions committees and they might tell you different things of what they're looking for as far as hours go. But what's often more impactful than that is quality hours. If you do 1,000 hours, but you have nothing to say for it, but if someone else maybe only had 100 hours but they had a super impactful experience, were able to talk a lot about it, that other person's probably that's going to look better for them, that they learned a really good lesson. So just consider that as well. It's not all about the number of hours, it's really about the quality and the impact of those hours. Yeah, it's pretty much it for my kind of overview on activities. So thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any more questions, please contact us. Here's our phone number, and here is our email. And yeah, good luck on your journey towards medical school.